What activities are these that you coordinate in schools?
So in school health activities, it includes the national school health programs, that is stories are deworming, nutrition. Then I also facilitate inspection, approval of schools after inspection. Yeah, those are some of the things I do.
Right.
Yeah.
And starting currently,
Yes.
just a brief from you
Yes.
to understand, because it's your line of duty.
Yes.
Are our schools okay in terms of the sanitation and hygiene?
Our schools are not okay.
What's not happening?
I think especially for these private schools, a lot of schools are coming up and they don't consult the public health officers before they open the schools. So when you go for inspections of these schools, you find out the standards that are there, they don't match with the national guidelines that are put there when it comes to inspection of schools and also accrediting them for license. Yes.
Should they first come to you guys before getting to the ministry? Which one should come first?
I think it's better for those people who are planning to build their school from scratch. They should actually consult the public health officer because they will get a good guidance. Because the building also goes with the number of population, the sanitary facilities also goes with the number of population. A lot of things will depend with the population that the school will have.
Right.
So once you have a public health officer, he will guide you on all these things. So when you open your school, at least everything will be in place.
Right.
Yes.
Do you feel they take so seriously matters about hygiene and sanitation within the school?
Within the school. When we visit them, they tend to, yeah. But before that, it's like they neglect. They neglect, yeah, some of these things.
Right.
Yeah.
And talking about hygiene and sanitation in our schools, that is quite a very important topic and it's quite vital. What are some of the few dangers that maybe the students can be exposed to if at all they are within a vicinity that is not properly sanitized and the hygiene is not adhered to?
Okay. First of all, we need to know what school hygiene and sanitation is. So this is the creation of a good environment that is clean and hygienic and is sustainable and suitable for the children to learn.
Right.
So for example, when it comes to a classroom that maybe is poorly ventilated or it has poor lighting, you see, in some classes you find there are children who cannot see properly. So when there's no lighting, the eyesight becomes worse. Or maybe you find there's a kid who is sick, maybe one kid has TB and the class is poorly ventilated.
Right.
So the whole class will end up getting TB. Sawa. Then when it comes to the sanitary facilities, if they have poor sanitary facilities or they have few sanitary facilities, so in case of like a cholera outbreak, so now it's going to be very easy for that disease to spread to other students. Or if they lack hand washing facilities and with COVID they have to wash their hands. So these are some of the things that schools should look into when it comes to spread of diseases.
Right.
Yes.
So in a nutshell, you're telling me, yes, there are few dangers that children and the students can be exposed to if at all there is within an environment that is not properly hygienic.
Not few, a lot, a lot.
Right.
Yes.
And have you ever had cases of such incidents that have resulted out from unproperly hygienic situations within our schools?
Yeah, there are situations that are not that I've encountered with, but I know of situations that can happen. Like I was talking about TB. If one student has TB and the class is not well ventilated, then the whole class will end up getting TB.
Right.
Or COVID, when you have a few hand washing facilities, then COVID can spread very easily. Yeah, such things. Yeah.
With such, whatever you've explained to me, I feel like we have requirements and conditions as which schools are supposed to, follow before even they get to bring students in class and study.
Yes.
Are these, the requirements, are they so hard for the schools that you think at least you're supposed to adjust them in some kind of way?
Normally when we do our inspections, there are normally guidelines that we're supposed to follow, but then us being as human beings, you have to at least look at the minimum requirements. If the school meets the minimum requirements, then you can approve. But then there are certain issues that are very critical that you cannot overlook. For example, issues of sanitary facilities, toilets. You cannot have a school of 500 children and have only 2 sanitary facilities. You cannot have a school that has 600 pupils and have only one hand washing. So such situations, you cannot approve a school. But for example, minimum condition, that is, a school has, let's say 50 students, and this school has 2 sanitary facilities. That is okay, because normally the ratio of the sanitary facility to children, boys to 25 boys to 1 sanitary facility, that is 1 toilet, and 30 girls to what did I say? Or 30 boys to 1 sanitary facilities, and 25 girls to 1 sanitary facility.
Right.
So for example, if you have...
Why are the girls less compared to the boys? I'm trying to figure that out.
You understand girls how we are. So I'm saying, for example, if you have a population of 500, you just do 500 divided by 25, then you get the number of sanitary facilities you're supposed to have in your school. Yes.
Do we have schools that have complied?
Yeah, we have schools that have complied. Yeah, because by the end of the day, your school needs to be licensed. And if you don't do what is recommended by the officer, then your school will not be approved, and you'll not be getting your license from the Ministry of Education.
Right.
Yes.
And to those schools that, of course, they have kind of some bit of problems in adherence and complying to such requirements, how do you do?
Normally, we serve them with the notice, and we give them a couple of days, of which if we don't comply, then now we are forced to close the school. Yes, until they comply with the issues that we have identified.
Do you have schools that you've already closed?
Yeah.
So far?
Yeah.
And do you feel like maybe you're trying to deprive the right to get education to students?
Our main concern is not about deprivation of education, but we are more concerned about the health status of the students. Yeah, even you as a parent, I'm sure you're happy when you see your student in a good facility that is suitable for the learning of the children, rather than a school that is very populated. Your kid is not even comfortable in school.
Right.
Yeah.
Problems like, overpopulation in classes and in schools are predominantly within the public schools.
Yes.
And there is where the problem is. And most of those who are proprietors of private schools have been blaming you guys, saying that you're too much into private as compared to the public. Is that a blame that you think it's making sense?
I don't think it's making sense, because whatever we do in private school is the same we do in public schools. If we're doing an inspection in private schools and it's within your ward, you have a public school, we also do inspection. And we give recommendations, and also we give notices to public school.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not something that we overlook.
I've never heard of an incident that you've gone to a public school and ordered the school to be closed. I've not heard of it.
We serve them a notice first. So most of them, you'll find that they either comply or they will come to the office. So we give them time, because with public schools, it's not like a private school. The private school, the managements are there already. If you need to see the board members, you'll see them. But for government schools, they have their own way of dealing with things. So when we serve them a notice, they have to sit down with the people who are concerned. So their way of doing things takes a little bit time than the private school, but it is doable. Yes.
So members of the public who think that you guys favor public schools should change that kind of understanding?
Should change, yeah, because we do not favor.
Right.
Yes.
Now, looking at the place at which you operate in, that is Changamwe sub-county here, how would you tell us in terms of how we are at? Parents are trying to figure it out whether if my kid goes to a nice school, and it's quite also not, it's hard for a parent to walk into a school and say, I need to go and check the sanitary wherever, So when it comes to schools, it's a bit hard to track, because now we have people opening schools without even you knowing. So you go into an area, you find those two small schools that are of very poor status, and you also have kids learning in those. So normally what we do, we just issue them a notice. It's either they comply with the guidelines or we just close them. So in generally, I can't say we're doing so good or so bad, because we find other private schools are doing so good, then others are doing very poorly, especially the ones that have low populations. And also in public schools, you find others are so good,
Like for example, Kipevu Primary is doing so good, and then you find others, issues of population, you know. So issues are there, but then us as the officers, we're trying to do our best to at least find solutions or like recommendation on whereby at least the school status can be maintained.
Right.
Yeah.
Most of the schools within our locality here, and the few that I've visited, you will find them, you know, enclosed in some bit of a squeezed space. And when we are talking about hygiene, you mentioned to me earlier before we even got on set, that it pertains to matters about environment.
Yes.
Now, in such an environment that, of course, is so much squeezed, and students are there, and that's the same place where we do the parade and we do the games and sports. How do we get to balance between, you know, hygiene and also having to create space?
So when it comes to the guidelines, you know, we normally follow the guidelines even during inspection. So normally, the parade area is different from the playing ground. For a school to be approved, if we are to follow the guidelines correctly, a school is supposed to have a playground on its own, even if it's in a designated area or maybe far away from the school, at least a 10-minute walk. But every school is supposed to have a playground. And the children will be in the classroom, of which also in the classroom, when we're doing inspection, there are certain conditions we normally look at in terms of the floor area space, in terms of the windows, in terms of the classroom, the furniture that is in the classroom. So all of that is checked during an inspection.
Right.
Yes.
True. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe you're following closely whatever we are discussing this morning here. It's all about matters to do with school sanitation and school health sanitation, as well as hygiene. Quite a lot that we are coming back to discuss here together with my guest. If you agree to whatever she says, of course you can share your comment, or if you think you have a different kind of an opinion, you can share that as well. But the burning question was that of double standards between public school and a private school, and I love how you've put it, that it's easier for the public, now between the two, the public schools and private.
The private.
Who are more, you know, up, once you serve the notice, which one reacts so fast?
The private schools.
Private schools.
Yes. Yeah.
So you want to tell me the bureaucracy within the public school is also a challenge to you guys?
The what?
Bureaucracy, like, you know, I serve a notice, it goes to the board, comes back, I don't know who to sit and approve.
Yeah, it takes time, like I told you, because now the head teacher has to sit with the board members, and then now it has maybe to reach the Minister of Education before anything is done. But for the private schools, the management is there. They can call the board members anytime as long as it is urgent. So things can quickly be done than in public schools. Yes.
Now, is your work easy when you are going out there to look at some of, you know, doing your patrols? And how hard is your work?
In terms of schools? In terms of schools...
because from what I view, I view you guys like the county assembly security personnel. Once they walk into a place, people are running helter-skelter. Is that what happens to you?
No, that is not what happens. Because now with schools, we have two types of inspection. We have the routine inspection and the one that we do inspection for licensing. So for the routine inspection, it's not very serious. But for the licensing one, that is whereby we go room by room inspecting. So it's a bit cumbersome for an officer to do the whole inspection. For example, for a school like for the public schools, especially if you're an officer by yourself, it's quite a work. You might even take half a day just doing an inspection for the whole school. Because if the school has like 15 classes, you have to go to each class and write the things that you see in each class. You go to the sanitary facilities, you go to the kitchen, and if there's a food handler, you need to see the medical certificate. So it's actually a lot. Yes.
Is once you're set to go and do your, what do you call them? Inspections, right. Yes. What do you look for, you know? If I have my school and I'm expecting you guys, what do you come to look for?
Okay. So first of all, we normally have our own tools for inspection. That includes, we need to have the tape measure for measuring the size of the classroom. And then we also you need to have a notebook and a pen, of course, to capture.
What do you mean the size of the classroom?
We have to measure the size, the floor space of the classroom. Because the floor space of the classroom will determine how many students you're supposed to have.
Right.
You understand me? For example, if you have a classroom and you've arranged the desk, the distance between each desk should be 1 meter.
During this COVID-19 period or even previously?
Previously, those are the guidelines. Though like some of them are overlooked, but that is the guideline that is there. Yes.
Is it practical and achievable with our schools?
It is practical in schools that have space, but in schools that do not have space, it's not practical.
So how do you do with that requirement if you go to a school that does not have the kind of space?
We go with the minimum requirement, at least 30 centimeter. Instead of 1 meter, we can do at least 30 or maybe 60 centimeter. Yeah.
Okay.
That is why I was telling you about the minimum requirements. Those are guidelines that are there, but you can just maybe assess the situation and see if 60 meters can do or if 1 meter can do. Yeah. So
to me, I feel private schools can achieve that requirement, but looking at our public schools, it's quite a challenge.
Yes, because of the population. Yes, it's a challenge.
So there is some bit of leniency on the other side.
It's not even a bit of leniency. If it's leniency, then it should be on both private and public. It's not like only the public has population. We have private schools that have more population than even public schools here in Changamwe. And when you come to matters of floor space, you'll find the same challenges that public schools have. Also, the private schools have the same.
Okay.
Yes.
So apart from the floor space, again, what else?
So yeah, back to your question. So we normally assess the external environment of the school, that is on entering the school. After that, you assess the inside environment of the school.
What should entail the external?
External is the outward look of the school, like is it painted, what sort of roofing does it have, what sort of wall does it have, the outside of the school, is it bushy or is it clean, such things.
Does painting have anything to do with sanitation and hygiene?
Painting does. How do you go into a school that is not painted, the wall is not even like plastered properly?
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So you need to paint the school. So when after the environment, now you go to you can start from the head teacher's office. So you inspect the head teacher's office, you check the floor, if it is chipped or if it is tiled. You just describe how the floor is, and then you describe how the wall is, how many windows the class has, the head teacher's office has. And when it comes to the windows, you assess the amount of light and the floor space provided. So the amount of light that should be in that area, according to the windows, should be 30% of the floor area space for it to have adequate lighting and ventilation.
Right.
So from the head teacher's office, you can go to the classroom, you check for the same floor, wall, ceiling, windows. The same, and then you can also assess the kitchen. In the kitchen, you can assess if they have a chimney, if the person cooking has a medical certificate, general cleanliness of the kitchen itself, the PPEs for the person cooking the food. Now from there, you can go to the sanitary facilities. For the male, you check if they have a urinal and the normal toilets and a hand washing. For the females, it's just the normal toilet. You check if they have a sanitary bin, and also if they have a hand washing facilities, and also if the number of students compared to the sanitary facilities are enough.
Right.
And then now from there, now we write a comprehensive report with our recommendations, and then we share it with the school itself. And then we give them time to abide with the recommendations that we've given them. Yes.
Right. And you'll be telling me once that time elapses, what next? But before then,
yes,
listening to your requirements,
yes,
I feel to me like if today I want to open up a school, I've got a lot to do and it's quite hectic.
Yes.
Don't you think you're killing this sector in terms of its business and income?
It is not about killing. You know, when you want to open a business, you need to do research and have quality things. If you need, you know, opening a school is more like a business. And for you to open a business that is going to thrive, you need to have money for you to offer quality education, quality facilities, and also quality education for the students themselves. And that is how you make money, when you have quality things. Yes.
So there's any sort of killing, perhaps people say you guys are working with the government to try and tame the private schools?
No.
Not at all?
No. I feel like if you're doing schooling as a business, then you have to give quality education, quality furniture, quality everything. Because in business, if your things are quality, then I'm sure like your market like will go up. Yeah, you make more money when you have quality things. True.
Right. When you mentioned here about going and checking the sanitary rooms, that is also quite a big challenge that most schools face it, and that's the point at which you're more keen. Why are you considerate about the sanitary places?
If there's something you cannot overlook is the sanitary facilities, that is the toilets, because most diseases emerge from the toilet, and that is why we are more concerned. In fact, in situations whereby we find you have a big population and the sanitary facilities are very low, we can even tell you to close your school then until you get the sanitary facilities added.
Right.
Yes.
So any simple mistake can lead to a lot of effects? Yes. That's why you're so much keen about it? Yes,
you're so much keen, because now you find that when a problem comes in a school and maybe a child gets a disease, for example, cholera, us as public health officers, we are the one who will be concerned, because we'll be told, this school is in your area, there's a certain kid that was found with cholera, so go and assess and find out what the problem is. You go make an assessment, you find out that the sanitary facilities are low. So the sanitary facilities are not enough. The area PHO, where are you? You did an inspection, the sanitary facilities were not enough. What did you do about it? So in the end, you find the blame comes back to us. So you have to make sure the schools that are in your wards just in line with the guidelines that have been provided for school inspection. Yeah.
If we are to construct sanitary facility in a school,
yes,
and of course looking into your guidelines as well, and I want to ask this, should we use the pit latrine or the modern ways of making up a sanitary facility?
I feel like any toilet is convenient as long as you can manage it properly and there's running water in that sanitary facility.
Are these modern one manageable in schools?
They are manageable if there's running water. So running water is key. So for every school we inspect, the school must have a water supply. That is either tap water or tank. Yeah.
Right.
Or water vendors at times where there's no water in the tap, but mostly we prefer running water from the tap.
Right.
Yes.
So if you visit a school and you feel in your own capacity that it has not reached the minimum requirements, you told me you issue up a notice.
Yes.
Once the time elapses, what next?
So what the time elapses, we normally don't wait for the time to elapse. If the school is smart, they normally come to the office, because sometimes we give them like 14 days, of which maybe 14 days might be a little bit too little for them to construct toilets. So once they come to the office, now we can have an arrangement. So after these 14 days, they can tell us like, what will you have done? Maybe we'll have gotten the materials, so like add us 14 days, maybe after 28 days, I promise you the sanitary facilities will be complete. So they normally write a letter to like bind themselves on the completion of the 28 days, then the sanitary facilities will be up and running.
Right.
Yes. So failure to do so now, it becomes a legal issue now. Yes. Right.
Of course. And we do not hope to get to that far.
Exactly. Yeah.
For it to disrupt learning. But also there's something that is coming up out from all this exercise of inspection, and you as the inspectors who are going to inspect here. We've had claims of bribery and corruption happening during the inspection process. Is that a concern to you as well? And have you ever had any such a claim? And whether if it's derailing your efforts?
Not in Changamwe, I haven't heard about it, and this is because if an officer does an inspection, I later on have to do support supervision. Like I have to know that whatever is written on the report actually complies with whatever is on the ground.
Right.
So it becomes a little bit hard for officers to take bribe and the school is in bad condition, because they know Habiba will definitely go to this school. She will assess the conditions, and if it does not comply with the report that was written, then I'm going to be in trouble. So in Changamwe, I think it's a bit hard for them to take bribe. I don't know about in other sub-counties though. Yeah.
Right. Somebody is asking, are there ways to have low-costing sanitation and hygiene in schools?
What?
Are there ways to have low-costing sanitations and hygiene procedures in schools?
Yeah, there are.
Maybe to some extent, it feels these, sanitation and hygiene processes are costly and expensive to some of the schools.
I feel like it's an investment for your school, and since you're making money, then you should be able to meet the requirements that are there when it comes to sanitation. Yes, you're making money. Why not improve your sanitary facilities?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. When you are talking about running water, do you factor in shortage of water as a major problem in Mombasa County?
Yes, we do measure in, and that is why we advise people to get the overhead tanks. Because now with the overhead tanks, when you don't have water, at least water can be pumped, or if you can have a borehole, you can at least pump water into the tank, or in circumstances where the borehole maybe has dried, there's no tap, you can even have these water vendors fill into the tank, and later the water can be used from a running tap.
Right.
Yes.
Have you ever, of course, adding to this question, is it a matter that, of course, you have forwarded up to the levels of the county government leadership, mentioning that once we do our inspections, they're mentioning about lack of water, and so far, how has it gotten into being addressed? So
inadequate water has been a problem that is cutting across in the whole of Mombasa. So we cannot just put the whole blame on the county government of Mombasa, because you as a person, you should be able to help yourself. And that is why we advise them to, you can at least get a borehole or the overhead tanks. Once there's water, you can fill your tanks.
Right.
But then it's not something that you can actually get help, unless you help yourself.
True. How do you support implementation of your requirements, if any, to a school? Do you support implementation over the requirements?
Yes, we do.
How?
Doing an inspection itself and us recommending you what to do is a way of supporting. And also we have school health education sessions whereby we identify problems that the school has, and during their guiding and counseling sessions, we can talk to the children about the issues that are concerning them, we are talking about menstrual hygiene, HIV, issues of abstinence, such things. So we actually work hand in hand with the schools to make sure the sanitary condition of the school and the health status of the children is good.
Right. Yeah. And last but not least, we have non-governmental organizations have also come on board. We've seen quite a number of them trying to, build sanitary facilities in schools, trying to add more classrooms. We have also leaders, maybe for instance, members of parliament having to add classrooms. This engagement of the community at large in line with making sure that the schools have the necessary health sanitation and hygiene. How do you make of it?
How do you make of it?
Or how can you comment about it?
I think it's something good because they're helping the community. For example, like Kwahola, they just added a few classrooms for the ECD, and that section is really beautiful. So at least we know the children will be having a good environment for them to learn, a suitable environment, which also in turn normally helps with the health status, because if the children is comfortable learning in the classroom, then of course this child will be bright and he'll be able to grasp everything that the teacher is teaching.
Right.
Yes.
Very true. Now, I want you to speak to, the schools. This is, of course, third term, I guess?
Yeah.
Do you do also inspections during the third term?
Yeah, it depends. We have schools that they reach third term and they haven't gotten their license. So I'd like to tell the schools that haven't done the inspections, they can go to the municipal, that is PhD, pay for the inspection, so that the inspection can be done and the reports to be forwarded to the sub-county health education officers in Changamwe. Yeah, because we normally copy them.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, those of which who have been served, you had served them
And
notices earlier.
Yeah, those
Will
that
they
are
expect you anytime soon?
those that have been
With a
served
very
notices, yes, they should.
Huge padlock.
Yes, they should actually wait on us, or if they haven't done whatever recommendations we had given them, then legal procedures will be taken. For the schools that have already been inspected and approved, we hope that you're maintaining the sanitary conditions and the hygiene of your school, because we'll also be passing by to do our routine inspection and the support supervision.
Right.
So, yeah.
True. We are so grateful for the few engagements that you're doing, and we will be here keeping tabs and making sure that you do your work adequately. And of course, also we do help the schools to make sure that they offer learning in very safe
Environment.
Right.
Yes.
We are so grateful for coming through, and we wish you all the best. And if somebody wants any sort of assistance, where can they find you?
Or if you need any assistance when it comes to issues of school inspection or school health education sessions, I'm situated at opposite Portrees Hospital. We normally have our sub-county offices, that is the Public Health Department. You'll find me there. We also have another office at Magongo Dispensary, or you can also come there.
Right, true. And with that, we are left with nothing but to bring this entire program into wrap. Thank you so much for your time, and now believe that you understand how necessary it is for you to have quite good hygiene and sanitation health in our schools. Also in making sure that our learners, in as much as they are learning, they do learn at a very safe and clean and hygienic environment that will go hand in hand, also improving the quality of education. This is what we do every single Wednesday. We must find a topic that resonates well with matters about health, and today we were discussing on school health, sanitation and hygiene. See you again tomorrow, same time, same place. Remember, you can catch this conversation later on at your own convenient time on Facebook as well as on YouTube. And tomorrow again, we'll have this kind of a conversation with a different guest, with a different topic. But what is consistent is right here on Boss TV, and the time is beginning from 7 a.m. to some minutes to 9.